Afternoon, everybody. We are back with SFC Defined, our live at 2 now instead of 5. So want to get right into it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hope your last week spending time with your mother or even thinking about your mother, if your mother's no longer here in the physical, I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend that weekend. It was good for me. You got to take the sisters out and hang out with sisters and stuff over that weekend. So that was good, and I hope it was good for you. But we're back today, and we started 2 weeks ago our live. Can you believe that May is basically gone? Man, these weeks and months are going by so fast. But we started talking about the question about how are you, just keeping in mind that it is Mental Health Awareness Month this month. May is Mental Health Awareness. And so I just wanted to ask the question. I don't think we ask that question enough, especially with the people that we spend a lot of time around. I think that we tend to take it for granted or just assume that because they smile or because they seem okay, that they are okay. And one of the biggest lessons that I have learned over the last few years, not just about myself, but about other people, is we often say we're good when we're really not good. And, it gets to the point where you have to convince yourself that you are good. And sometimes that ain't healthy. It's not as healthy as it should be, because we tend to sweep things, our emotions, our feelings, things under the carpet. And I don't think that that's healthy for any one of us. So, I wanted to talk briefly today about the question, how are you, as it relates to your emotional and mental health? We, for the most part, most of us have our physical health down to a science. It's easy to identify when something is going on physically with us. If your head is hurting, you got a headache, and to take something. Your tummy ache, you got a tummy ache, and to take something. But when it deals with your emotional or mental health, it's not as easy to identify the issue. And you certainly, for the biggest portion of us, it's not a pill or something that you can take to make your mental health issues go away. It's not something that you can take to help your emotional health as easily and as readily as it is for your physical health. I think that if we were to take time to pay as much attention to our mental and emotional health as we do our physical health, I think that's what creates balance in our lives. I think that most of us are off kilter, we're out of balance when we deal with a lot of emotional and mental stressors, when we deal with emotional and mental things that take us out of our ordinary. We don't know how to always handle that. And one of my biggest things that I try to push for the last probably 20 or more years is balance. And when I tell you, I've found that balance in my life, setting boundaries and setting parameters for other people and even for myself, I found out that that is what's key to creating healthy emotional and mental health, just having that balance. I appreciate you guys joining me today, those of you being, and some of you others, thank you so much for joining me. So we're getting into it. I want to hear from you about mental and emotional health, some of your best practices. That's what I want to talk about today, the best practices. How do I deal with my mental and emotional health? A couple of things that immediately came to mind when I thought about our time together today is the fact that when you're dealing with your mental and emotional health, I think that it is so important, imperative for you to be honest with yourself. If you are not okay, stop trying to put on the facade that you are, and just stop. We're used to faking it until we make it and all of that kind of stuff. I totally get that. And I'm a proponent of that sometimes. I think, but when it comes to your mental and emotional health, in order to turn that corner to create a healthy emotional and mental lifestyle, you have to first be honest with yourself. For me, I can always tell when I'm off balance. I can always, like, my tolerance is very low. My patience runs very thin. And I'm not talking about with other people, I'm talking about with myself. All of that happens when I know that I'm out of balance. And I know that mentally and emotionally, I need to find some stability. I need to find an activity. I need to find something to read or something to listen to that would help center me again and bring me back into a more positive, higher energy vibration level. And that's what I think it is when we find out or admit to ourselves that we are off balance. I think it's important for us to seek those things, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's a sermon, whether it's a YouTube channel, whatever the case may be, somebody that's in a higher energy level than where you are at that moment, and let them pour into you. There's nothing wrong. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what your position is. I don't care who you are, how much money you have, or anything. I think it's so much more mature when you can say within yourself, hey, something doesn't feel like, I don't feel like myself. I'm off balance. I'm not where I need to be. I'm starting to think negatively. I'm starting to feel depressed. I'm starting to feel like, I can't handle my situations as well as I did 2 or 3 months ago or 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think that when you can identify that within yourself, that is the first step into creating balance and creating healthy emotional and mental health. So what are your thoughts about that? What is one of your best practices? What do you do? And I think that if it helps you, it's very likely that it will help somebody else. So what is it that you do that will help create that balance that you feel helps promote your stable and healthy mental and emotional health? So give me that. And if you don't mind sharing that, I would love to know what it is that you call best practices. Benny says, best practice for me is transparency to oneself and to someone who you can trust, that can be a support, that you can check on each other to ensure we are keeping check on our mental, emotional health, then getting the necessary help. Absolutely. So it is that person or persons that you have identified as somebody that's your go-to person that will keep you empowered and keep you motivated and inspired. Don't get me wrong. I feel like every one of us, if you are human, there are periods in your life, some last longer than others, where you struggle emotionally and mentally, and especially in our culture, we don't want to admit to the fact that there are things that we just can't handle. There are things that stresses us completely out. There are things that really causes us to do that downward spiral. We don't want to admit that, but the reality is that's life. It happens. Life ebbs and flows. Life goes up and then it comes down. It is your choice on how you're going to deal with that process. So I think that we all deal with mental and emotional health at some point in time in our lives. I think the stronger ones and the folk that really know themselves are those that bounce back pretty quickly. But that's not everybody's story. For those of you who struggle to stay in a situation a lot longer than you need to, like, somebody said something to you, and I hear people talk all the time. When they talk to me, they're like, I'm over that. No, the fact that you brought it up in a conversation means that you're not over it. When you're over something, there is no thought. It doesn't run through your mind when you're completely over it. So if you're still talking about something that happened on your job last week, and we're about to enter into a new week, you're not over it. Admit that you're not over it and deal with it accordingly. Be brave enough and courageous enough within yourself to just say, you know what, that bothered me. I think that's what creates that mental and emotional stability and good mental emotional health. When you can say, yeah, you got on my nerves. Yeah, you bothered me, but I choose not to hold on to it, and I choose not to let it linger. And so I think that that's one of the major things. And I hear people all the time when they talk to me, oh, I'm okay, but you're not, because you keep bringing up the same situation over and over, day after day, week after week, every time we get together, you're talking. That means you're not over it. So what can you do that will help you deal with that in a healthy way, so that you won't be traumatized by it, so it won't be something that's keeping you up at night, so that it's something, because let me just say this, if you don't address mental and emotional health, what you deal with on a mental and emotional level will inadvertently show up in a physical level. So if you don't let something go mentally, at some point it's going to start affecting your physical health. That is science. That is fact. That is not something that I'm making up. If you don't let it, there's a saying, and I think I heard it from Florence Shen first. When you break the word apart, disease, that's dis-ease. So when there is a dis-ease, when there is an uneasiness, and you're bitter and you're frustrated, all of that, that's mental, that's emotional, but it creates disease. So your dis-ease creates your disease. So your physical health is directly affected by your mental and emotional health. So I encourage you to be honest with yourself and make sure that you are addressing those things that bother you, that keeps popping up in your mind, that keeps worrying and nagging at you. Address those things. Stop trying to pretend like they're not bothering you. Stop trying to pretend like they're not there. They are. Be brave enough. If you don't admit it to anybody else, be brave enough to admit it to yourself. Catherine says, most of the time I've found that journaling has been helpful for me when I am feeling a certain kind of way. Other times it's a nap. I get it. You have to do what's necessary. Denise says, stress is a killer. Indeed it is. First of all, you have to identify it as being stress and not letting it just go under the carpet. Stress is a killer, which causes a lot of mental health issues as well as physical. If you recognize it instead of ignoring it, it will be the best solution. I like talking out my thoughts that is bothering me. I think if I hear it, I can deal with it better. That's good. And again, it's by any means necessary. You got to do what's best for you. For me, when I feel like I am killed, like I said, I'll read or I'll listen. One of my other things is I shop. I'm a shopper. I love to shop, and for whatever reason, the air in malls is so much different than air anywhere else. And just breathing in, whether I spend $1 or $20, it's just being in there and being able to just decompress. That is one way that I deal with my stress. And again, with that, I have to know my boundaries. Benny says, my journey is managing mental health, several years ago, began with me ironic having to push past certain traditional religious teachings that made the conversation of mental health secular, counseling, therapists, etc. somehow simply a lack of faith and lack of spiritual brevity. 100%, and I think that that's one of the problems in our culture, particularly the Black and brown culture, is that we want to turn it over to the Lord and let him work it out all the time. And, God is saying, but I gave you the wherewithal to work it out. And we want to just try to act like it's always a God problem. And it's not. It's a problem for the God in you to work out. And you have the wherewithal. I shared today that anything that we go through in life, if we believe that God has ordered steps for us to go through it, then even the mess ups, the stressful days, the indifferent days, they are all a part of our journey while we're here on earth. And as a part of our journey, it is not something that happens to us, it's happening for us. It is just our perception of it. We don't look at a setback or an argument as something that's happening for us. We think that is happening to us because most of us are steeped in that victim's mentality. But when you step over into the power that's in you and you understand that that is a lesson that teaches you how to be stronger, wiser, better, I do believe that life will become so much easier. I think the people that just refuse to accept life, refuse to allow life to happen, are those who deal with mental and emotional health on a grander level. That's just my own personal opinion. That's nothing scientific. That's just my perception of the world. I feel like that when you get to a place where you can accept life as it is, the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows, the ups and downs, when you can just look for the good in that situation, it keeps you in a healthy mental and emotional state. Again, that's just my opinion. And if you don't believe that, then that's totally okay with me. That's my opinion. I just want you to understand that the power to heal, the power to overcome, the power to make it, to get through, it all lies within you. The first thing is that you have to be honest with yourself, which I don't think enough of us will do. I think too, the other thing is when you identify that you are having some emotional issues, I think that it is pertinent that you treat your emotional and mental health as much of a priority as you do your physical health. Now, here's the thing. For our culture, most of our culture don't like going to the doctors for physical health. So if they don't like going to the doctors for physical health, you know without a shadow of a doubt, going to the doctor for mental and emotional health is totally out of the question. I hate that it's that way, but there has been a perpetual fear that has been instilled in a lot of people of our culture that don't want to go to the doctor. And I think Benny said it derives from that religious aspect that is wrong. That we and I used to be that way. I'll be very transparent. I used to be that way. You know, I'm thinking God will fix it. God got it. God got it. I just need to pray and I just need to fast and I just need to do whatever because God's got it. Well, you know, I realized that God is saying to me, you got it. You got it. You got it. You get to determine whether or not this is going to linger in your life or you're just going to get past it. And the more you find yourself talking about it, that's a very strong indication that you have yet to get past it. So I encourage you today, make your mental and emotional health your priority. Find something to do, whether it's painting, taking walks in nature, whatever, shopping. I don't care what it is. Just make healthy choices. Drinking yourself to a stupor is not a healthy choice in dealing with mental and emotional health. Doing drugs is not a healthy choice in dealing with mental and emotional health. Find a way that will get you off of that very, very low energetic vibration that will raise your vibrations up. Be around people that will keep you inspired and motivated. Listen to happy music. Listen to songs of inspiration. Listen to podcasts with people that will feed that side of you that needs to come up and overpower that other side that's keeping you down. So I encourage you, make your mental health a priority so that when you are asked the question, how are you? You can say without reservation, I'm good. Like I feel balanced. I feel like I've got things together. I feel like I'm moving forward. I feel like the universe is working in my favor. I feel like that life is good and I can't wait until the next thing and the next phase. Benny says, I prayed, but then went to see my therapist. Absolutely. Pray for a good therapist if you have to. That's where your prayers should direct, for a good therapist. Because, you know, it's amazing to me how we talk down about doctors and about counselors and about therapists. But these doctors and therapists and counselors have thanked God for their ability to empower and encourage. And God has equipped them with the necessary tools to do what they need to do to make society a better place to live. So just pray for a good therapist, a good counselor, okay? And watch God put you in the face of somebody that can really help you. Mental health and emotional health is so important. Make it just as big a priority as your physical health, okay? Appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for joining me for our new time. Don't forget, we are on at 2 instead of 5, and that's the way it's going to be moving forward. So we'll finish up this session on next Sunday. Memorial Weekend. I hope you're able to join us. Okay. Talk to you soon. Bye.